What's going on, people? Very good evening to you all. This is your boy, the Boxing Lowdown, here for episode number 75 of the Boxing Lowdown podcast. And listen, guys, you know what it is. Delighted to be joined by my father right here, the main man, the co-host, the guy that you lot tune in to see. You lot don't really tune in to see me. You lot want to hear what he has to say. Laurie from AFTV in the house, man. What's going on?
Hang on. Just practicing my Sonny Edwards. Lean back, lean back, lean back. Shout out to Sonny Edwards, man. On this show, I think it was last year sometime, I labelled him the London Loma. Yeah. I think he's been living up to that recently, man. So shout out to Sonny, stay off Twitter. That's what you just need to do. You're a bit...
That's not going to happen.
Hyperactive on Twitter. Or maybe not stay off it, but just calm down a bit. But hey, man, the skill set is on point. So we forgive him to a degree.
For sure. Don't you think that's what makes Sonny, though? Don't you think that's what makes him?
But I've seen some of his more recent comments on the McGuigans, for example, and I think he's getting a little bit carried away, man.
Okay. Okay. Well, listen.
But I listen, man, I'm a fan of his, and I do like the way that he's raised his profile using social media. But I just think that, you know what I mean, as is often the case with social media, you can get a little bit carried away. You need to know when to tone it down and just keep it straight, you know?
Okay.
Sometimes, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, just a disclaimer before we get started, man, and shout out to everyone in the comments. I'll see you. Big up yourselves every time. I've told you already, it's off camera, but my Wi-Fi, everything that could go wrong has gone wrong this week. The Wi-Fi has been bad. I'm getting someone to come out and look at it tomorrow. The electric, some of the circuits in the house need rewiring, so that's going to get done. The washing machine broke. The what else, man? I need a plumber to come out here to sort something out. All going off on the same week. So let me just say, if the Wi-Fi cuts out on here, forgive me, but yeah, we're running on like fingers crossed at the moment, but I think it'll be okay, hopefully. But yeah, just disclaimer to let you guys know, it was touch and go whether the show will go ahead this week because of all these issues that have been going on. But we're here, man. We're all good. We're healthy, and we carry on. You know, it's just what. I'll just say that quickly.
Yeah, no problem. Well, hopefully, when you monetize this video, you'll be able to go out and rewire your house, get a new telecommunication system. And who knows, maybe even eventually buy a new yard in the countryside somewhere where you've got your own facilities and studio and all that. So, yeah.
Maybe one day, yeah. Yeah. It's expensive having your own place, man. It is expensive having your own house, I'll tell you that.
Yeah. But you know what you need, though? You know what you need to do all that? Payday. You need payday.
Yeah. I'd fight Canelo for a payday right now.
Yeah.
I'd go in there.
Start calling Canelo out. Go on Mike Tyson's Hot Boxing Show. Start jumping up and down on his sofa, calling Canelo out of his name, calling all these weird insults and stuff like that. You never know, you might get the fight. You probably get it quicker than Charlo.
I'll find a nice little spot to lie down, and you know what I mean. Yeah, I'll be all over that. You know, I'll pay for everything.
I bet Avni Yildirim's living nice right now off the back of that one fight. He probably could retire now.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. I haven't heard much from him since then. So yeah. But let's go to the comments.
I bet you, right? Avni Yildirim's earned from that one fight way more than a lot of fighters in the world right now off the back of that one fight against Canelo. You know what I mean?
Could be. Could do. Could. I'm presuming, yeah. I'm presuming he has. Well, I'm going to go to the comments here quickly. IB in the building. He's put, good evening. Daryl finally chilled on a sofa rather than leaning forward on a stiff chair, listening about Canelo from Laurie there. I would have been on the stiff chair today, IB, if it weren't for everything that's been going on. But I'm just thought, you know what? Been a long week. Let me just chill on the couch, man. So, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. Big up, IB. Francisco has said here, hey, I got here before Harvey. Harvey is here, though. He's put, evening, gents. Hope you're both well. Good to see them subs are still going up, Daryl, bro. You know it. You know it, man. Big up yourself, Harvey, man. They are going up a little bit. IB has said here, speaking of Lomachenko, has reminded me of the Eddie Hearn tweets about comparisons with Josh Kelly a few years ago. Yeah, that didn't work out very well. Punch Smollett in the building. Big up Punch Smollett, man. Our guy over there. IB has said here, 3 minutes to mention Canelo. I think that's a record. The biggest name in boxing. Laurie spoke it into existence. And yeah, big up Harvey and everybody else, man. Nathan here in the building. And Michael Maxwell is here as well. let's get onto it, man. Laurie, last weekend boxing. I want to open the floor to you because I know you was really like happy about one result. You was going off about a particular fighter last week.
Yeah, man. That little run's continuing with these little big mouth, arrogant, obnoxious guys who chat so much shit. They get knocked out, man. You know what I mean? Or beaten comprehensively. And we saw another one at the weekend, Blair the Flair Cobb, getting his ass beat, man, knocked out or stopped or whatever it was. I saw the ending of the fight. Yeah, man. I mean, listen, I don't like to see harm come to anybody, but in the boxing sense, we need guys. I mean, listen, it's one thing in promoting yourself, like what Sonny Edwards is doing on social media and stuff like that. But then Sonny Edwards is a remarkably talented young fighter. You know, I mean, he's got the skills to pay the bills, and let's be honest about Sonny. He, even though he's clowned other people on the internet and Twitter and so forth and that, he's normally fairly respectful to his opponents. It's just a case of him talking up his own self. I don't mind that. But people like Blair Cobb, man, I've got a real problem with the way they conduct themselves. Not done anything in boxing to remotely put themselves up there. They're just trying to use their mouth to put themselves in a position. And then they go about it totally the wrong way. They start being contemptuous of other fighters, belittling their achievements when they've got no real history in the game of doing anything significant. And I just find it awful, man. I just find it totally inappropriate, unwarranted, totally lacking in class. And when they get their asses beat, man, I'm the first to be jumping up and down. So you had Tiafimo, the way he was carrying on, he got his ass whooped. You had Zepeda knocking out the I forget the guy's name. And Chris Colbert, another one.
Yeah.
Battered, humiliated. His one was one of the worst come-uppances of the lot, actually. Because unlike Blair the Flair Cobb and Tiafimo, who showed a bit of heart in their losses, this guy was trashing everybody, even guys that are not in his own weight class. Trashing them, saying they've not got no skills, they ain't got no heart. And to see him get knocked down, beat up, and then literally spent the last 3 rounds of that fight running away. And I mean running. You know what I mean? It was great to see. And yeah, when these guys get their asses whooped like that, man, I don't know about you, Jerrell, but I take a personal degree of satisfaction from it because I just think it's real lacking in class.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, there's trash talk and then there's going beyond. You know what I mean?
There seems that I think Cobb was with him. He was just because he's 32. Maybe he felt like, you know what, I need to really put myself out there, and the only way to do it at this age is to really just talk shit and, you know, be that kind of person, mate. Because at the end of the day, it got people tuning in.
Yeah, I guess it
lose.
Maybe you know what it is, though, Daryl. There's an art to talking trash. That's number one. But then to underpin all that, you've got to have a level of talent in which to do that, because anyone can talk trash, you know, but not anyone can fight. So get your fighting skills up. So when you're talking from a position of strength or a position of authority. So that if you do lose, at least people can say, well, you know what, he's a good fighter, but he just got beat by the better man on the day or whatever. But if you do all that, yapping, calling people out, talking about fighters not in your weight class, belittling fighters that have achieved a lot in this game and stuff like that. If you start doing that and then you don't live up to what you put out there, then you're going to get laughed at, and quite rightly so. I mean, I don't know if you saw some of the footage that emerged on YouTube, but after the fight, when Blair Cobb had been stopped and had his wig pushed back, as one of your contributors there just said, upon exiting the ring, he was met with an absolute torrent of abuse by the fans who were basically saying, yeah, you whatever, and really getting, you know what I mean, quite personal with it. And he deserves it, bro. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be doing that. And I've seen something today. I'm not sure how true it is. I've just seen the headline come up on my phone. It's a YouTube video where apparently he's apologized to Errol Spence, Blair Cobb, because he was saying all this stuff before about Errol Spence. He's cursed. He's a coward. I mean, imagine that. Blair Cobb, you've done nothing in this game. and you're calling Errol Spence one of the better fighters of today, a guy who's like held the welterweight title since what, 2017? You know, I mean, unbeaten as a pro, represented this country with great distinction in the amateurs, went to the Olympics. Blair Cobb's never done anything remotely like that, you know. Let's have it right. He's not done anything remotely what Errol Spence did. And you feel that just because a microphone's pushed in your face and you've got the spotlight, that you can belittle this man, besmirch him, rubbish his fighting skills, and all that stuff. And then you get in there now and you get beaten by a guy. Let's face it, Hector Rocha's a good fighter, but he's nowhere near Errol Spence's level. And you got a dog walk, bro. You got slapped up, as we say in the streets. You know what I mean?
Rocha, he looked all right, though. And like Francisco saying here, how about him against Conor Benn?
Trust you to mention Conor Benn, man.
Well, that's what Francisco's saying here. I'm just saying what he's saying.
But you're only too happy to co-sign that, aren't you?
Yeah, why not? Well, why not go up against someone?
I'll tell you what about Rocha?
That's got ambition. How about that?
How about Rocha versus your boy?
No. How about that? How about Ben go up against someone his age, matching his ambition? Do you know what I mean? Unbeaten. How about doing that? You can't say that doesn't happen because AJ did it with Dylan White. They both met each other when they were quite young in their career. Why can't Conor Benn fight Rocha?
No, but AJ and Dylan were at similar levels insofar as they'd fought each other as amateurs. And don't forget, Dylan won that fight in the amateurs. He put Joshua down as well. So that gap is that's not the same levels, bro.
Yeah. So what? So are you saying Ben's on another level to Rocha? What? Like what?
No. I'm saying that Conor's still learning his trade.
Yeah, but so's Rocha.
No, Rocha's been around for a little while longer.
He's 24.
Yeah, but just because they're the same age.
He's younger than Conor Benn.
No. I think you're being a little bit pedantic with the words there. Listen, not pedantic is the word. What's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, I'll come back to that. But semantics is what you're doing there, not pedantic, semantics. Because we all know that just because you're of a certain age, that doesn't always tell you the level of experience a fighter has. Yeah. So although he's 23, 24, he may well have had a long amateur career. He may well have turned pro a lot younger than Conor Benn. But anyway, listen, man, Conor Benn's fight with what's the South African dude called?
Van Heerden.
Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with that fight, bro. There's nothing wrong with that fight. Van Heerden's only lost a couple of times. He's experienced. He's tough. Okay.
Yeah, how about you go in there with someone like, you know what I mean? Stefan's saying here he's way too dangerous. More chance of him fighting Cobb.
Yeah, let's have it. Yeah, that's a good fight. Conor Benn versus Blair Cobb. Let's see if he can do it quicker than Rocha. He probably could.
I want to see Ben in there with someone his age, you know what I mean, around his age, that level of ambition, you know, not someone that's on the way down, someone that's around the same level or on the way up.
I'll tell you a good fight then. Florian Marku.
Old Florian Marku now. I'm thinking more somebody that's in action this week. And how about Chris Congo? He'd be the favorite in that fight. He'd be the favorite.
If I was Ben's people, I'd take that fight. But the only problem is the only problem with that is that Congo is coming off a loss. So they might look at it like, well, you know, what is really Congo bringing? If you see what I mean. That's not my words. I'm paraphrasing now. But what you got? What's he got this problem with Conor Benn, man? Why are you calling him out? He's just been. Listen, you're a big fan of Canelo, and you know what I mean. Let's face it, his fights are very strategic.
Can't compare
If he sets the benchmark,
you can't compare them.
Top box. Well, no, I'm just saying, if he's the one that you're looking to set the benchmark, then Conor Benn's doing nothing wrong, then is he? Because he's conducting his career in a very strategic sense, which is what Canelo is very known.
No, the difference is like, you know, Canelo's built up his resume over a long period of time. Do you know what I mean?
Listen, what Conor Benn is doing, man, and what Eddie Hearn and all those guys are doing, is nothing new in boxing. It's that age-old thing, isn't it? It's putting a young guy in against guys that are maybe not that good, or guys that were good but are on their way down, older guys who can't punch. It's a well-trodden path. So I don't think you should be too on at Conor Benn, man, because he's by no means the first, by no means the last done it. They all do it, bro. got to start from somewhere. It's like anything, innit? You've got to build. You know what I mean? You can't just go straight in and say, yeah, I'm going to do this. Well, I'll tell you a good fight, though. After this one, if Conor Benn wins this fight, I'd like to see him fight a guy that's had a lot of success, won world titles. Conor Benn versus Adrian Broner. That's the one. 4-time world champ. You know what I mean?
I think, yeah, I'm sure he would. Yeah. Mohammed says here, once you step up, you can't go down. Remember that. That's true.
That's a good point.
That is a good point. Asher said here, Conor Benn lives in everyone's head rent-free. Is he the only welterweight contender prospect in the world? Let's bring others into the conversation.
Well, I mean, you know, you're talking about Conor Benn, but I know for a fact from speaking to you privately, you're a big fan of Virgil Ortiz. Now, Virgil Ortiz was offered a fight against a certain David Avanesian, turned it down. I didn't hear nobody. I've not heard one person say, "Oh, Virgil's ducking Avanesian." But with Conor Benn, they always say that, "Oh, we ducked Avanesian." Don't worry. You're playing that to Virgil Ortiz. Why? And that was a fight, an eliminator fight. And he chose to go the WBO route and take on Michael McKinson. And with respect to Michael McKinson, who's had about 17, 18 fights, he's only had 2 by KO. And what I'm asking you, Darryl, do you think by any chance that had something to do with the fact that McKinson was selected to be Virgil Ortiz's opponent for this latest fight, even though it fell through? I think it did.
I'm saying that with Virgil Ortiz, he's in a prominent position with 2 different sanctioning bodies. So whatever route he took, you're gonna say he ducked that other one. Do you know what I mean? It's not like it's not like it's not like with Ryan Garcia and Devin Haney, where he was the number 1 contender to fight him and he swerved it. It's not like that. Virgil Ortiz had different options, and this was the route he went down.
Yeah,
obviously.
Yeah, and some people would say, myself included, that in doing what he did, Virgil Ortiz, as good a fighter as he is, he took the path of least resistance. I think you would agree. If we're being honest, bro, you know what he did. You know what he did, though. I know what he did.
What
but
are you
listen,
really?
I am not gonna.
Do you think Avanesian beats? Do you think he beats Virgil Ortiz? Because I don't.
Not necessarily, but it's a much harder fight than McKinson for a number of reasons. Number one, with total respect to McKinson, he's overachieved in his career, right? But he's not a better fighter than Avanesian. No way, right? And like I said, I like what McKinson's done. He seems like a cool guy. He's overachieved. He seems humble. He's got a lot of things in him that I like. But if I'm being honest, right, he's not at the same level as an Avanesian. He don't hit as hard. He's not as skilled. He doesn't have the depth in boxing experience that Avanesian has. You know what I mean? If Avanesian was to fight Avanesian to win, not saying it would be an easy fight, but that's what I'm saying. Now, if you're Virgil Ortiz and you're this killer guy that's beating up everybody, if you're such a killer and you got that killer's mindset, that Marvin Hagler style mindset that we like to talk about on the show, then it shouldn't bother you whether it's McKinson or Avanesian. You was offered the Avanesian fight first. You should have said, yeah, man, I'll take it. Boom. World title fight. Rare. But he didn't. He turned it down and went for McKinson.
All right, answer this.
That's facts.
All right, answer this. Is Avanesian, would he be the toughest opponent that Virgil Ortiz would have faced? If he fought Avanesian, would he have been the toughest opponent for him?
Potentially. I know you're going to talk about Green Machine, but potentially he would have been, yes. He would offer him a lot of problems, bro. More problems than
Mean Machine, more than Kavaliauskas, more than him.
Potentially, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not disputing that, because I think Kavaliauskas, you know what I mean, he's tough, but he's had a couple losses prior, or Avanesian's on a good run. But,
and this guy, Mr. Burns, let me just make it clear. I'm not saying, right, that Virgil Ortiz is scared of Avanesian. Listen, please don't do that. I didn't say, those words didn't come out of my mouth. I said he took the path of least resistance. There's a subtle difference there, man. You know what I mean?
Okay. Ash seems to have your back here. Laurie's put here. See the reaction if Conor Benn chose McKinson over Ortiz, he'd be thrown in. No, he would. No. I'm not saying that. If he chose McKinson, I'd be like, yo, cool. That's a demand. I just literally said 10 minutes ago, I wouldn't mind seeing him in with Chris Congo. So why would I act a different way if he fought McKinson? McKinson beat Congo. So not me, but I get what you're saying, Ash. Like other people would. I get it.
I know the problem you've got. You're, and I do understand where you're coming from. You're saying that the hype train that surrounds Conor Benn
That's what I don't like.
Is in danger of careering out of control because he's not really fought nobody yet. And listen, I do have a certain amount of empathy with that. However, you've also got to balance that with what I said before, which is that Conor Benn has little to no amateur experience. He's a young guy that started at the bottom. He's worked his way up. And if you remember, when he first turned pro, and I remember this well, he didn't look that good. I mean, his first couple of fights when I saw him, the sort of comments that people were saying about him then were similar to what people were saying about Ricky Attenson. Basically saying, oh, he's just going to live off his dad's name. Oh, he ain't going to make it. You fast forward to now, Conor Benn looks a completely different fighter. I remember when he went life and death with that French guy, Pinot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? A lot of people thought he lost that first fight. You know what I mean? And if you look at the strides, the improvement he's made since then, all I'm saying, he's come on a long, long way. He's potentially one of the most improved, if not the most improved fighter in this country in terms of improvement levels. And I'm saying you still got to, you know what I mean, be reasonably cautious with a young guy like that, even though he's had a couple of really good wins against, let's face it, guys that are, you know, past their best, non-punchers, etc., etc. He's worked himself up to a level, but you don't get it twisted. He's not ready for the likes of the best welterweights in the world yet.
Okay, here's a question for you from Stefan. He says here, I don't understand Laurie saying McKinson has overachieved. How? I haven't seen him have a close fight yet.
Well, okay, I'll give you an immediate example of that. So Mikey McKinson, he beat Chris Congo. Yep. Chris Congo was considered by many to be one of our top prospects in this country. And Mikey McKinson beat him. Not just beat him, he dropped him in that fight as well and won it well. Now, I would say to Stefan, how many people predicted that McKinson was going to beat Chris Congo? I would say very few. Outside of his immediate circle, there wouldn't have been that many people predicting that way. I certainly didn't. I know you didn't, Daryl. And McKinson's had a few good wins like that. You know what I mean? He's unbeaten and he's kind of, you know what I mean? He was under the radar. He's kind of crept up fighting in small hall shows and he's, you know what I mean? He's achieved. He's achieved, bro. I mean, I didn't expect him to do that well.
Yeah.
To the point where now he's fighting in high profile. Well, he would have before high profile fights against Virgil Ortiz.
Punch Smollett, he hasn't forgotten last week, man, about Magseo and Ray Vargas. He's still on to you about that, man. He's still on to us about that, I think. He said, big up Punch Smollett. He's saying here, but you did say Magseo beats Vargas. Explain that, mate.
Okay, I'm happy to explain. I'm saying, listen, man, Vargas is a good fighter with an unbeaten record. But for those weights, he is quite old. Magseo is young, he's strong, he punches hard. And I'm saying that he's got a good chance of beating Vargas. I think, in fact, I'm not gonna kid around. I tipped him to win. Now, if they fight and Vargas beats Magseo, then Punch Smollett is welcome to come back to me and throw shade. But last time I checked, they hadn't fought yet. So, you know what I mean? We'll see what happens.
Big up Punch Smollett, man. And quickly, before we move on, because like Francisco saying it here, it's a good debate. Just your thoughts on some of the other fights that took place over the weekend. I saw Ash's comment earlier. He said that this was the worst weekend of boxing he's seen in a long time. Obviously, McKinson did fight, didn't go. I mean, he got the win, but I mean, it wasn't very popular with the crowd over there. There was other boxing elsewhere as well. Just your thoughts in general over the rest of the weekend's shows. I mean, Sonny Edwards was in action, Regis Prograis, and the rest of them.
I thought the Dubai show was all right. Like you said, Regis Prograis, Sonny Edwards put on a bit of a masterclass in his fight. Listen, man, there's been worse weeks. I think maybe people are comparing what happened at the weekend to the previous weekend when you had the likes of Lee Wood and Michael Conlon and guys like that. You know what I mean? I mean, with respect to boxing, to be fair, you can't have great shows every single week. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't think
over boots.
No, I don't think so, Punch. I don't think you should. I don't think so.
I think he's trolling, man. I think he's trolling.
Mr. Burns says, dude on the right. So he's talking about you, Laurie. He said, dude on the right said Congo would knock out McKinson. I said McKinson would win that. So that's basically what you said. You thought, we both thought Congo would win.
Yeah, I
I
did.
can't remember if you thought he'd knock him out, but
I thought. I'm not sure if I said knockout though. Did I say that? But anyway, I did tip Chris Congo to win. I've got no problem in saying that at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
So well done to McKinson for that.
Yeah, Avanesian's opponent was terrible, man. Josh, that was a blowout, wasn't it? It was a real big blowout, man. Big T in the house. He's put here, big up Boxing Lowdown. Big up to yourself as well, Big T, man. Asher said here that Dubai washing program is going swimmingly. Punch Smollett has said here, are we ready to declare Edgar Balanga as Dudu? Obviously, he was fighting Steve Rolls over the weekend, man. You know, Steve Rolls, we saw what happened with him against Triple G. Balanga, there was a lot of hype for him when he started his career. Obviously, he was on that knockout streak. But it's starting to...
Is it 15 or 16 straight first-round knockouts?
It's starting
that is a blessing and a curse, that type of thing, because that just gasses somebody up to the point where they just think, yeah, man, I'm the man. And his last couple of fights, he's not looked nearly as good. So he's what you're seeing there is him leveling out. Obviously, those first 15, 16 guys were not off that standard, you know what I mean? Now he's fighting guys with a bit more about themselves. He's not doing anywhere near as well. But that doesn't mean to say that he won't make it as a pro. Maybe that he's just got to go back to the gym and work on his overall game. Well, it doesn't he has to do that. But I'm not going to declare him a bust already, man. You know what I mean? Just as I weren't getting, you know what it is, yeah? Just as I wasn't getting overly gassed about the 15, 16 first round KOs, I'm not going to be too down on him because Steve Rolls took him to a points decision. I mean, at the end of the day, he still won the fight. It's not like Rolls was robbed, was it? No. So, you know, at the end of the day, man, maybe this is good for him. Get some rounds under his belt, discover some home truths. I mean, I've seen where you might have seen the footage as well, where Tim Bradley went in on Balanga, man.
He did, man. Yeah.
He went in, you know what I mean? As only Tim Bradley does. And he basically said, listen, man, you are nowhere near.
He's a bit harsh, man. I mean, Balanga, he's a bit harsh, don't you think? It was over the top.
A bit harsh. But although, to be fair to Tim Bradley, he did close off his comments by saying, listen, man, reach out to me. I can help you. I'm willing to help any pros if they want to learn about this game. And let's be honest, Tim Bradley was a great fighter, man. 2-weight world champion, fought the best, beat Manny Pacquiao. Okay, but some people say disputed, but he beat him, and he shared a ring with him twice, or 3 times, I think it was. He's fought Marquez. He's fought Provodnikov in one of the greatest fights I've ever seen. He was an outstanding amateur as well, Tim Bradley. So listen, man, Edgar Balanga shouldn't take what Tim Bradley said personally. If I was him, I'd put in a call to Tim Bradley and say, look, if you're serious, maybe, I mean, I can learn from you. Let me sit down. I'm not saying he should employ him as his trainer, but how about you take a flight or whatever it is, arrange a meeting, sit down and say, listen, man, what do I need to work on? Where's it going wrong? What can I do to improve? Nothing wrong with that at all.
I'll tell you who he could go to. He could go to Miguel Cotto. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're both have that Puerto Rican heritage. Do you know,
it's important to when you're especially when you're a young fighter, man, not to be overly sensitive to criticism, because you know what I mean. Not all criticism is bad criticism. It can be constructive depending on your approach to it. So if Balanga is just gonna close up and you know what I mean, and not be open to people giving him good advice, then that's going to be to his detriment. But he can make it work for him if he actually reaches out to guys like Tim Bradley and say, listen, man, I wouldn't mind having a bit of a conversation with you because, you know, there's things I can learn from you. You've been there and done it. Hopefully someone that can rub off on me. So, but I doubt whether Balanga will do that. Knowing the fighters of today, he'll probably take it personal and be in his feelings and all the rest of it. So,
yeah. Punch Smollett here with a question. He's put here, who do you have more faith in, Balanga or Maguire? Well, I'd say Maguire at the moment.
Has to be Maguire. He's already a world title.
Yeah. He was at the lower weight, but I mean, as middleweight, he hasn't now. But yeah, he's won a world title. Balanga's, I guess Maguire's further in his career than Balanga is right now.
See, Maguire's another one of those that I was talking about earlier, Darryl, when when I was talking about how long they've been in. Their age doesn't necessarily predicate how long they've been in the game. Munguia is one of those guys. Canelo was the same as well. He turned pro about 16 years old. You know what I mean? So, and you could see that Munguia still by far from the finished article, but he has improved.
Yeah.
Definitely improved since I first see him. So, yeah, man, Maguire is the better of the two. But that doesn't mean to say, like I said, that Balanga can't improve and fight to a certain level, maybe even win a world title. You don't know, man.
Yeah.
Got to keep on improving. We spoke about Conor Benn with that same thing, remember?
Yep.
When we first saw him, man, we did not listen. When we first saw Conor Benn in those, be honest, Darryl, when you first saw Conor Benn struggling against journeymen or just overwhelming guys that, let's face it, were not very good and did look too good in doing it, you did not envisage that Conor Benn as we are seeing today. People talking about him in fights against the best welterweights. I personally didn't see that.
No, nor did I.
You got to give Conor Benn and Tony Sims and those guys credit. He's come a long way. And his dad as well. Apparently his dad's done a lot of work behind the scenes too. So
he has come a long way. Shout out to Daniel White. Big up to Daniel White in the building. He's put, I love Timothy Bradley. He definitely lost the Pac-Man fight though. I would have loved to have seen him against Mayweather, Maidana, or Khan. Great CV anyway though. He was a warrior. He was.
Yeah, I can remember Tim Bradley when he won the title. He came over here and he beat Junior Witter, wasn't it?
Yeah, Junior Witter, and avoided fighter, man. No one really wanted to fight him.
Yeah. And I think he decked Junior Witter in that fight as well. Yeah, so that was, Tim Bradley's one of the better fighters of recent years, man. Definitely.
Let's move on to this weekend's fights, man. We've got a lot of action to get through. Maybe we shouldn't go in depth on all of them, but let's touch on all of them at least. So we've got four major ones this weekend for me anyway. Tim Tszyu, the son of the legend Costa Tszyu, is making his US debut against Jerrell Gaucher. You've got the Boxer Show, Richard Riakporhe against Dion Juma. Then you've got our boy Dan Aziz on the undercard.
Come on, Dan.
We've also got Josh Warrington, Kiko Martinez 2 for the IBF featherweight belt. And what's the other one? We've got Miguel Burchell, who'll be taking on former Shakur Stevenson show, Jeremiah Nakatilia. Now, out of those four shows, I think I know the answer. But out of those four shows, which one are you looking forward to the most?
It's got to be my boy Dan Aziz, man. I'm looking forward to that fight. I'm still trying to get a ticket for that fight. I did actually message Dan about that. I haven't heard back from him. I can only imagine that he's deep in training and obviously deep in preparation for the fight. So he probably doesn't want to be bothered by people like me. But yeah, man, obviously I'm going to try and get down there. I'm working on a few other ticket routes to get there. So hopefully I'll be there. If not, I'll definitely be watching on TV. He's up against a guy, Matthew Tinker, a guy that beat him in the amateurs. And he's also unbeaten as a pro. So that will be a good test for Dan. But I've got every confidence in him. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that fight. I'm looking forward to that main event as well, the Riakporhe Dion Juma fight, because I wouldn't rule out an upset in that fight. I wouldn't rule out
undefeated as well. Yep.
Yeah, because Dion Juma, very accomplished amateur, unbeaten as a pro. He's had injury problems, man, but he's very talented. And I've spoken to a few people behind the scenes that said he's looking good in training, and he's certainly speaking confidently. Riakporhe, a lot of people behind him. Big puncher, you know what I mean? Big, strong guy. However, have to be honest and say he's not blown me away with his performances in his last couple of fights. He looks like he's kind of stuck in that mindset of being a boxer and a puncher.
Good point.
So I'm not so sure if Juma sticks around, doesn't get caught and goes. You never know, man. Juma is going to get confident with each passing round. And I would say of the two, he's probably the more accomplished boxer. And he can dig a little bit too. So that is a dangerous fight for Riakporhe, man. Dangerous.
Lee Selby's fighting as well. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
In Argentina, didn't know that. Big up Stefan. I didn't actually know. But yeah, carry on, Lloyd. The Boxer Show.
It's a hard ask for Lee Selby, man. You know what I mean? Like going over to those places and trying to get a decision, especially Lee Selby's not a big puncher. He's more of a boxer, as we know, and he's getting on in years. I think he was showing his age a little bit when he fought Kambosos, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He wasn't able to. Kambosos took him to that place where Lee Selby couldn't really get his shots off, couldn't really step on the gas the way he used to. and he lost that fight quite convincingly in the end. But listen, man, I wish Lee Selby all the best, but it is going to be a hard ask. I'll try and get round to watching that fight, but if I'm being honest, my eyes will be more focused on Dan's fight. But yeah.
So that show, the boxer show, obviously it's got Caroline Dubois, Congo on there as well. That's going to be on at around the same time as the rematch between Josh Warrington and Kiko Martinez. Will you have one eye on that one? How do you?
Yeah, I must admit, I'm not super excited about that fight. To be honest, it seems to me like they're doing the very best to get Josh Warrington.
I think Josh Warrington caught a bit. I thought he caught some luck, man.
Yeah,
if I'm being honest. Yeah. I said that on my video this week. I think that, you know, he managed to not have to rematch Kid Galahad again. He got out of fighting Maurizio Lara for a third time. He's got Kiko Martinez, a guy that he's already beaten, and he's fighting him.
Mind you, if you was Warrington, would you want to fight Lara again? He's been in there twice with him. The first one he got absolutely mollered, and the second fight, man, it was looking a little bit up until that head injury. I know Josh was like talking that stuff after the fight. Yeah, I wanted it to go on, all that, but boy, man.
It worked out pretty nice for Josh Warrington.
Yeah, I think it did. And I think if we're being honest now, let's keep it real. And this is no disrespect to Josh Warrington, yeah? I think what we're seeing is someone who's the benefits of having one of the top promoters in the world that can work behind the scenes and facilitate opportunities that you wouldn't otherwise have got. So like you said, he was able to swerve. I'm not going to say duck or, you know, run from whatever, but he was able to swerve Kid Galahad, who he had a very close fight with a couple of years ago. He was able to swerve Lara, and he's got himself a fight for a world title against a guy that he beat before and should beat again. Let's be honest, man. Kiko Martinez is a guy that he's been coming to this country now for many, many years. I first saw him in this country when he's getting beaten by the likes of Rendell Munro. That was many, many years. The boxing bin man from Leicester, who beat Martinez, let's face it, comprehensively. He's come back to this country, been beaten by the likes of Frampton and guys like that. You know what I mean? And Warrington beaten him before. And then when he fought Galahad, I saw the fight. And although he knocked Galahad out with a punch from hell, he was getting soundly beaten before he landed that punch. So I'm expecting Warrington to win.
Had a question here earlier. Let me go back to it, actually. Bear with me. We've got a lot of comments here. Big up, everyone. There's about AJ that's potentially gone with James Ali Bashir. I don't know if you saw that picture there. Mr. Burns is not a fan of that. And Big T has said here, can Dan Aziz be a world champion? So those two questions for you there, Lloyd, quick about AJ and Dan Aziz. Could he be a world champ?
First one's first. AJ with James Ali Bashir. Listen, man, I don't. With these things, it's all about relationships as well. Yeah, because, you know, James Ali Bashir, am I right in thinking that he trained Usyk before, hasn't he? Amongst other fighters.
I can't confirm. Someone, I'm sure one of the guys, Nathan, Stefan, or whoever could confirm.
But anyway, Josh, when I say Joshua, Anthony Joshua, AJ, he's been around the world, hasn't he? Tried out all these different trainers. And if that's the guy he feels more comfortable with, then that's the guy he feels more comfortable with. Because sometimes with trainers, it's not always about simply who is the best trainer, who's trained the most world champions. It's about your relationship with that trainer and how you gel, how you work together. You know what I mean? And if he feels more comfortable with a guy like that, then that's who he's going to go with. So yeah. I wouldn't really like to say until it's announced, to be honest, for certain, because I've only heard of that today. I didn't know about it. I was more thinking that he was going to stick with, is it Fernandez, who's the guy that's training Richie Riakporhe, by the way, the Cuban guy.
Yeah.
So that was what the speculation was leading towards. So, yeah. On that one, the second one was Dan Aziz be a world champion? Yes. I mean, listen, he's, again, a bit like Conor Benn. He's worked himself up. He started off on the small hall shows. He's unbeaten. He's coming into his own now. I can see it. Being a friend of his, even I can see the development and the way his confidence levels have gone up. So if he keeps winning and then he gets the right types of fight, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
A lot of fights to coming up and to look forward to. I saw your comment earlier, Nathan, about Buatsi and Craig Richards. That's been announced. Both of them in the same division. I did have that down here. I did have that down to discuss later. But listen, man, let's talk about it now. What a good fight that is.
Yeah, very good fight. And let's face it, man, Craig Richards should be a world champion. Because let's face it, man, he was robbed when he fought Bivol.
Wait, let me call Shane, man. Call Shane and get him on here. And then, but
Craig Richards was robbed when he fought Bivol, bro. You know what I mean?
I know you don't mean that.
No, I mean, listen, man. He said at the time he thought he won the fight. I thought that was a bit of a stretch. But certainly after the fight, him and his team celebrated in the immediate aftermath of the fight, the bell going, like they'd won it. Now, listen, were they capping? I don't know. But he did well, though, in that fight, man. And let's be honest, man, Craig Richards, I've got a lot of time for the way he conducts himself in and out the ring, man. He's a good fighter. And he's one of those underdog stories, isn't it? You never thought he'd get this far in his career. And here he is, man, taking on one of the best guys in this country in a high-profile fight. And it's not out of the realms of possibility that he could win this fight. Because one thing I would say about Joshua Buatsi, although Joshua Buatsi is a very good fighter, potentially, hits hard, seems to have all the ingredients, he does get hit a lot. I mean, I know he went over to Virgil Hunter to try and correct that. But, you know, he is open to getting hit, and Craig can hit himself, and he can box, and he believes in himself, and he's improved. So, yeah, good fight, man. But obviously you'd have to lean towards Buatsi. But you can't write Craig Richards out completely. He'll be there, man.
It's literally big up, Big Lou in the house. Ian Hamilton, I'll see you. All you guys, shout out to you for the comments, man. I saw Punch Mullet. I like Punch Mullet, man. He said, Buatsi's 30, time's running out, need to step up. Buatsi's development for you so far, have you been impressed with his development so far?
I've been impressed with him in the ring for the most part. He does get hit a little bit, but what I would say, his career's not really taken off the way I thought it would do. So he needs fights like this. So this is a big crossroads fight for both of them. Craig Richards, because it's another stab at the big time, really. And Buatsi, if you're going to go anywhere in this sport, you're going to have to be beating the likes of Craig Richards. So
Ian's thinking of going to this one. He says Buatsi versus Richards is a fantastic fight to see how far Buatsi has come. Richards will give it his all. I'm looking to go to this. Yeah, I mean, listen.
Not myself as well.
This is South London, man. This is literally Croydon versus Crystal. It don't get more South London than that.
Big local. And you've seen, with, especially in the UK, when you get these derby fights, man, they mean a lot.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Invariably, they're good fights, and both guys will leave it in the ring, man. You know what I mean? With no questions asked. And I think this could be one of them. I can imagine that if Buatsi doesn't get rid of Spider Richards early, this could be a long night for him. Yeah, so and then there was you sent me the flyer today. I'm looking forward to that one, man.
I'm going to that.
Linus.
Now we have Luton boy, Linus Adofia, man. Listen, he's a good friend of mine from these sides. Do you know what I mean? Luton born. I'm gonna go out there and support him, man. This is a big fight against
and a winnable. Let's face it, it's a winnable fight, man.
Yeah.
Because I would say, right, I'm gonna say now, of the two, I would say Linus has the better skill set. Yeah, I think Denzel is the bigger man, possibly the bigger puncher. But I definitely think Linus, when it comes to pure skills, I think he's got the edge. And of course,
we need to go to that one.
Yeah, and of course, we saw what happened to Denzel when he got, let's face it, man, he got pretty manhandled and beaten up and stopped by Felix Cash. So is his confidence level as good as it once was? You never know. That was quite a bad defeat, man. Quite debilitating defeat for Denzel. I mean, I know he's come back now to win since, but even so, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If Linus gets off to a good start, it might put those demons back in Denzel's head.
I know Linus has sparred many rounds with Felix Cash before, so you know if he does for this fight, I'm sure Felix Cash will give him some gems that I'm sure he already knew. But
I think Denzel will be favourite, but that is one where seriously, man, you would rule out Linus at your peril. You know what I mean? I think that's 55-45 fight, possibly in favor of Denzel, possibly. But yeah, man, good fight between two good fighters. Could go either way. Well, hopefully Linus wins because, like you said, he's a good friend of yours and stuff. I've never met him, but you've spoken good things about him. And like I said, from what I can see, he's got the skill set, man. Definitely.
Punch Smiley has said here, Lara or Wood, who's getting the title shot next? That's if Josh Warrington beats.
That's an easy question. It's got to be Lee Wood. Yeah,
he ain't gonna. Yeah, the Lee Wood. It makes sense though. I wouldn't hold.
Does make sense.
Yeah, I wouldn't
plus both those guys, man, especially Warrington's got massive fan base, and Lee Wood, especially after that fight with Conor, and he's picked up a big fan base now as well. So that would be a massive fight in this country, probably a stadium fight. You know what I mean?
Stefan saying here, I picked Bentley to beat Cash, which turned out to be a bad pick. So I'm picking him to win again, just so your boy Udofia wins. Yeah, that'll be massive. Stefan will be massive over here if Udofia can win that, man. I
would imagine that Linus is going to bring a few men down there, won't it?
Oh, yeah.
You'll have a lot of support.
There'll be a lot of people coming down there. I'm sure Denzel will bring his people as well. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, a lot of us.
I reckon Linus will probably bring more, man.
You reckon? Yeah, well,
from what I hear, he's quite popular down them sides, isn't he?
He is. He is popular down these sides, yeah.
Yeah. So.
But anyway,
and then the Luton fans will come out because I remember back in the day when Billy Schwer was fighting, right? And that was the last British champion from Luton.
Was it Billy Schwer? Was
or
it
Graham Earl? Or Graham Earl?
Graham Earl. He won the British title, didn't he? Graham Earl.
I know that both of those guys. Right. And it's interesting because I've sparred both Billy Schwer and Graham Earl, by the way, when I was amateur. But yeah, I remember both those two, especially Billy Schwer, he had a massive fan base. And Graham Earl, he had a decent fan base as well. So the Luton fans, when there's a guy that's reached that level, they will get behind him. I'm pretty sure.
Josh Kelly is also going to be on the undercard. Yeah, I mean, is he the main event? Yeah, he's got to be. I think he's the undercard, but we all know what the real main event is. DS has said here, I didn't realize it was 30 years since Luton last had a champion. That surprised me big time. Was it Graham Earl was the, I think Linus, I saw Linus put that. I think Graham Earl won a title before that.
Well, it's a long time anyway. And it's kind of surprising because there's a lot of boxing clubs in Luton. And it's a working class town. And let's be honest, man, Luton's a place where they do breed them quite tough down there. You know what I mean? Having lived there myself, I can speak for it. You know what I mean? There's quite a few guys, man, that are about that life down there. You know what I mean? So I'm surprised that more people haven't made it to that level. I know what's the guy's name? Jordan. What's his name? The amateur.
Jordan Reynolds. Yeah, very good fighter, man. Another one. Yeah.
He was an outstanding amateur as well. He's turned pro now.
Yep.
Yeah, man. So there's and amateurs as well. There's always been some good amateurs there. So yeah man.
Pros on the way up as well. We got Tycee Gallagher, man. Look out for her. You got Frankie Story. He's going to be big. Do you know what I mean? He carries.
Because I know his dad. Yeah. Francis Story. He was a good fighter as well.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
But let's keep on track though. Two other fights this weekend. Tim Tszyu making his US debut and Miguel Berchelt making his return in a new weight division after getting flattened by your boy Oscar Valdez last time out.
Oscar Valdez.
Tim Tszyu, you looking for? I mean, Jerrell Gosha. I mean, good talent, but never really fulfilled his potential as a pro. Compared to the
he was an Olympian. He went to the London Olympics. I think he was the weight above Errol Spence, wasn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He's a good fighter. But Tim Tszyu, a lot of people are tipping him for the top, man. I haven't seen like his fights in its entirety. I've seen bits and pieces there and then, some highlight reels. But he does look good. And he speaks very confidently. I've seen a couple of interviews with him. He seems calm, collected. Obviously, he's got that great, heritage, isn't he? From his dad, was a great fighter.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? If he's even 60% of his dad or whatever, then he's going to be a good fighter, man, because his dad was phenomenal.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
Do you think there's any chance of Jerrell Gosha springing an upset here?
Well, that depends on how much ambition he's going to have going into this fight, because he's going to realize, he's going to know from the promotion that it's the Tim Tszyu show, isn't it? They're basically looking to showcase Tim Tszyu in America. So they've selected an opponent that they think he's going to be able to beat, somebody with a name, but somebody who they consider as beatable. So sometimes that can put people on the back foot, or it can give them that energy, put that battery in their back to the fact, well, oh, these people are looking down on me. They think I'm just there to be beaten. I'm just an opponent. I'm a good fighter myself. I'm a former top amateur. I've still got it, man. I'm going to show these guys. So it's a big opportunity for him as well. But you'd have to say, based on their respective records in the professionals to date, that you'd have to make Tim Tszyu the favorite. But that doesn't always mean that he's going to win.
Yeah.
And the way a lot of these fights play out is that if it goes to the cards, it's probably going to be Tim Tszyu that gets the win. So I'm going to go for Tim Tszyu on points.
Mr. Burns said here, I need to catch up on AFTV. Been years since I've watched.
What?
Punch Smollett has said here, are you lot Jamaican? Yeah, we are Jamaican, bro. Yeah, Jamaican heritage over here.
Yeah,
for sure. What about Miguel Burchelt then? With last time out, it was nearly a year ago now. Devastating knockout. How will he bounce back in a new weight division?
Well, this is interesting because that guy that he's fighting, the African guy, Nakatala or Tali, he was the one who fought Shakur Stevenson, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And he was known as a puncher going into that fight. So I think that was why Shakur was kind of weary. And he's tall for the weight, isn't he? And he does present problems. So I am looking forward to seeing that fight, actually, seeing how Burchelt copes with a guy like that and what happens when he gets hit, especially after the way he was absolutely blown away by Oscar Valdez. I mean, if you're Miguel Burchelt, I'm pretty sure he was looking at that in the light of what happened subsequently with Valdez and probably thinking, yeah, man, you know what I mean? Was that knockout legit, or was the guy I was fighting that night juiced up to the eyeballs? I don't know what he said publicly, but I know privately what he's going to think. And who can blame him for thinking that?
It was a devastating knockout, man. And it weren't just the one punch. He was getting quite a bit of a beating before that as well. So, be interesting. But there's also a Probellum card tomorrow. How could I forget? Lewis Ritson's on the bill. Troy Williamson is on as well.
Sorry to just go back to that Burchelt fight with Valdez. I think even without offering him too much excuse or mitigation, I think a lot of people were saying that he needed to move up in weight even before that was because if you remember, he's massive for the weight, and apparently he's been struggling to make the weight. So we'll see how he does up at a higher weight against a different opponent.
What about the Probellum show? Lewis, Nathan saying that they're trying to set up Lewis Ritson and O'Hara Davis. What do you think?
I've seen Ritson's last couple of fights. He's not looked that good, has he?
Nah. Well, then there was Lewis Ritson, really. I mean, neither. It's not one we're clamoring for, is it? You'd watch it, but we're not really clamoring for, are we?
I mean, if he fights O'Hara Davis, the only thing with O'Hara is he's going to promote the fight by chatting a lot of trash. But in terms of an actual matchup, it's not one that excites anyone, I don't think. Although potentially it could be a good fight.
Both of them can hit.
Yeah.
Well, moving on anyway, man. Still got quite a bit to discuss. We're 53 minutes in, should I say. Your thoughts on Jerrell Miller? I did a video on this today, put it on my channel so you guys can see my thoughts on that. But Jerrell Miller looks like he's been given the go-ahead to compete from June the 17th. He had a meeting with the Nevada Athletic Commission this week, I believe. They're basically giving him the go-ahead on under one stipulation that he has to go through VADA testing for every fight. The question is, who will touch him? Because DAZN won't touch him, Top Rank won't touch him, but then you think maybe somebody like a Triller, some jokes kind of circus show of someone like them maybe would touch Jerrell Miller. I mean, they brought Evander Holyfield out of retirement, made him fight.
This is boxing, man. He'll get work. He will get work. I mean, listen, if it's down to me, I wouldn't care to see him back in the ring again. I didn't really like the guy even before the drugs thing. I thought he was another one of these guys that chat shit, very obnoxious with it. I didn't really rate him as a fighter. Big, tough guy. Throws a lot of punches, but then I wonder why that was. Why his so-called gas tank was supposed to be so good. I think we pretty much know why that was. But then, having said that, he served his ban, and let's be honest, man. If we're going to be brutally honest, we have to say that. You know what I mean? He's served his time, and let's face it, there are guys in boxing. Some of them a lot higher up in the game than him. Some of them pound for pound champions who have failed drugs tests, and they're still fighting. So really and truly, the way boxing is at the moment, you can't deny him his right, which is to fight.
That's what Stefan's saying.
Am I interested in his career? No. Personally, whoever he fights next, I hope he loses. He's a serial cheat as well. I'm pretty sure as well, even when he was fighting in K1 before he come to boxing, he got thrown out of that for drugs cheat business too. So a thoroughly unlikable, unpleasant, and disreputable person. And yeah, man, he brings a bit of a bad smell to boxing, doesn't he? I personally have got no time for the guy. But hey, man, it is what it is. You can't deny him his right if he served his ban.
Stefan literally saying what you just said. He said here, I've got no problem with Miller coming back. You can't have one rule for a person and one rule for another. There are plenty of convicted drug cheats that are still boxing, even being lauded in some cases. So that's literally what you
who are the two of the biggest names in boxing now? Two of the biggest names. I think they're fairly obvious who I'm talking about.
Well, I know who you're referring to. Canelo's one of them.
Yeah,
and I know I don't think Fury is the second biggest, but I know that's who you're referring to.
Yeah, but he's one of the biggest names in boxing. Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
They're both convicted drugs cheats. So convicted as well. These are not allegations. These are convictions. So,
Big Lewis said here, Jerrell Miller should get a lifetime ban. The first mistake, yeah, okay. Second mistake should be an instant lifetime ban.
That sounds correct, but it's difficult to enforce something like that because a lot of these guys are going to have carefully prepared excuses as to why they failed the test. They're probably going to want to go down the legal route to try and get back in. So, but what you can do is hand out stiffer bans for people who have been caught than there are at present. So rather than give somebody a little 1-year ban, or I think in Canelo's case, it was something ridiculous, isn't it? Like a 9-month or 1-year ban, when given that these guys only fight once or twice a year anyway, it meant nothing. What they should be talking about is 5-year bans minimum. You know what I mean? And then that might prevent some of it, but then it's so widespread, man. I mean, Oscar Valdez is one that really irks me. This man failed a drugs test before the fight. And not only was he not banned, but he was allowed to fight, right? Defend his title. And he was also given a gift decision to go with it. Just because of the fact that he was the headliner of the show and he was being promoted by the guys who promoted the show, basically. Yep. Corruption 101. It's terrible. And then to find out later that he'd actually been given some kind of statue of honor in his hometown as well. And to think that my mum and dad used to tell me growing up that cheats don't prosper. Well, Oscar Valdez is living proof that cheats do sometimes prosper.
You can run a list of it, man. Dylan White here, Mr. Burns is saying that whole situation before the Rivas fight was that was pretty
very dodgy, very dodgy.
It was. I mean, the list goes on.
Although I'm not sure if Dylan was actually convicted for taking drugs on that scenario, was he?
Well, he tested positive, but we didn't get the B sample, did we?
Yeah, exactly. And what made it worse on that particular scenario is that Oscar Rivas wasn't even informed until after the fight. Now, this is what I'm saying about boxing, though. You imagine, say, God forbid, it didn't happen. And, I'm glad it didn't happen. But you imagine if he'd have knocked out Oscar Rivas, and God forbid, Oscar Rivas had gotten really ill, fallen into a coma, or even suffered an injury arising from that fight. Can you imagine when those details come out? He could have sued Dillian and Eddie Hearn and absolutely everybody involved. You know what I mean? This could have got really nasty. Why he wasn't informed that Dillian had failed his first test, God only knows. But it smacks again of corruption, doesn't it? That was wholly wrong.
Yeah.
And in answer to Cursed 187, no, it wasn't just for coke.
No, it wasn't. No.
Cocaine is deemed as a recreational drug. It's not a performance enhancing drug. But Tyson Fury got done for steroids, bro. Go look it up. It's a matter of record. It's facts.
What's a suitable punishment then? Because there is this thing, like when somebody tests positive for a banned substance, we almost know immediately what sort of statement they're going to come out with. They're going to say, I took this unwittingly, I didn't know, I would never do that, I'm a clean fighter. You saw Billy Joe Saunders say it, you saw Oscar Valdez say it, you've seen Dylan White say it, you've seen loads of guys say it. What needs to be a punishment that, you know, across the board for guys that test positive for any banned substance?
Well, the rules, Darryl, they're just not applying the rules. The rules are very simple, which is that you are responsible for what goes into your body. Yeah, that's what the rules are. So, and then if you fail the test, there should be no mitigation, really. You know what I mean? There's none of this, I ate boar meat, you know what I mean? When you've got caught for taking nandrolone, none of this Mexican meat, what Canelo tried to use. Or some of the more laughable ones, the Kid Galahad excuse, for example. I fell out with my brother, so in order to get back at me, yeah, he contaminated my. I mean, it's all
disgusting, really.
It is. It's just
you're insulting our intelligence, man.
Yeah, man, it's just disgusting. And like I said, there is a underlying rule. You are responsible for what goes in your body. So if you ate meat or food that your brother slipped a Mickey in there and then said, yeah, really. I'm sorry, but you got to take that out with your brother. You should not be allowed to fight. Or you know, I'm not saying ever again, but there should be a significant ban to deter people. 6-month bans and bans with caveats do not deter people. They're more than willing to take the risk because the rewards are so great. So what you got to do is make it that when one of these guys get caught, there is no mitigation, no excuses. Say, no, you know, you're aware of the rules. You know what it entailed. You got caught. 5 years, boom, that's it. And for a lot of guys, that's your career done, 5 years out of boxing.
Yeah.
And if you do it a second time and you get another 5-year ban or you get a 10-year ban or they say, right, we're going to ban, that's it. That's your career done.
Yeah.
But who's going to be brave enough to want to do that? And what you've seen in boxing as well is that the more high profile fighter you are, the more likely you are to get away with it. So, you know, your likes of Canelo and your Tyson Furies and your Oscar Valdez, Huey Fury, Billy Joe Saunders, the list goes on. These are high profile guys, world champions. They've been allowed to slide relatively. It's wrong, man. Very wrong.
Like we said, there's no central governing body in boxing really to really apply. No. You could get test positive for a banned substance in New York and you could fight in Florida. Do you know what I mean? That's just how.
That's right.
It's not.
Sergey Kovalev got done the other day, didn't he? For taking.
Yeah, Kovalev fight. He's fighting, isn't he?
You know what I mean? So how long was that banned? If he got banned at all?
I don't think he got banned at all.
Yeah. I mean, what is that? What's ridiculous?
And look at Kovalev's rap sheet, man. I mean, look what he's done over the last year or two.
Exactly.
So yeah, this guy's fighting. No one's even blinking an eyelid about him fighting.
The closest I've come to hearing anyone get sued, and I don't think he did get sued in the end, is remember when Zab Judah lost his last fight? He got knocked out quite badly, didn't he?
Yeah, he had to go to hospital.
Subsequently, the guy he fought, a Jewish American guy called Cletus, I think he failed a drugs test, and it was talk that Zab was going to sue him. I don't know what happened in that. Maybe Zab didn't have the financial clout to go through with suing him. Mate, I don't know what happened. But yeah. But unfortunately, that's what it's going to take for this to, for proper bans to be introduced. I honestly think it's going to take something as drastic as that for the sport to get shook up enough to say, right, from now on, when someone fails a drug test, we're going to have adequate bans in place. Because otherwise, we're just going to hear a list of excuses. I ate this, I ate that, I drink this, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You know, I fell out with my girlfriend, she poisoned my drink. You know what I mean? It's a load of crap.
Yeah.
When the underlying premise is you are responsible for what goes into your body. That's why they put that rule in place, because obviously they were trying to ward off the excuses. So that's why that's there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But unfortunately, the sport concerned has to be brave enough to follow through with the bans. And let's be honest as well, Darryl, it's not just boxing, you know. There's a lot of sports that will turn a blind eye to the more high profile, more successful sports people getting bans because they know it reflects badly on the sport itself. I mean, you look at UFC, for example, man. Come on now. The amount of guys that have failed drugs tests. From what I heard from people who follow that sport regularly, that the drug testing is very minimal. It's almost like, yeah, you know what I mean, it's there just as a window dressing exercise. Rugby is another sport with big problems in that area. Again, a lot of people have said to me who fought, because I like rugby, and I talk to rugby players, and they say, yeah, it's just there, but no one really, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think there was a rugby player that came out not too long ago and said something similar, didn't he? A rugby league player. He said that the testing is minimal and no one really cares. And it's rife as a result. And I think boxing's in that place.
I think it is. I think it's been in that place for a while as well.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens here.
Boxing's not the only one.
See what happens here with this whole Jerrell Miller situation, man. I mean, I'm curious. The only thing I'm curious to see is who's going to touch him, and like, is he really going to make a run for it? Because he's 34 now. Do you know?
He ain't going nowhere, Darryl. He ain't going nowhere. And it's funny because I saw some footage of him hitting the pads. He looked awful, by the way. Put on a lot of weight as well. His hair looks like it's falling out. I wonder why that is. But you look at somebody like him and you think he is a proper coward. That guy knew that he doesn't have what it takes. So what he did was to use the drugs. Because if you look at the list of drugs that he was taking, it's like he was some drugs cocktail he was taking, man. I call him, I mean, he had a nickname, Big Baby. I was calling him Big Pharmacy. Because seriously, man, the man had more drugs in him than boots. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yes, and he wasn't that good anyway. Let's face it. He made a lot of noise. Yeah, he beat certain guys. But it was obvious to me he didn't have it. I mean, he got that fight with Joshua. He was running his mouth, but Joshua would have absolutely tore him a new one, man. You know what I mean? That was just a big payday for him, and he knew it.
And he blew it as well.
Yeah. And I'm glad they caught him when he did. I've got no time for the guy as well. Totally lacking in class. Totally, you know what I mean? Even before Joshua, he'd been running his mouth on Deontay Wilder and one or two other people. Again, he's just like some of them other lot we spoke of earlier, just contemptuous.
Let's move on anyway, man. I wanted to get your thoughts on this. I'm going to scroll back up to the comment from Ash. It was about this, because I'm sure you'll agree with him. Ash has said here, Kambosos waited 5 months for Loma to rule himself out before he offered the fight to Devin Haney. No one can't tell me that Devin Haney isn't ducked.
Yeah, I agree. And I have to say, man, I've got to put this on the record. I've been very disappointed with George Kambosos. I mean, you will know, Darryl, and people who watch this show will know as well, that I was high on the guy.
Yeah.
Even before he beat Teofimo. I mean, I watched him beat Lee Selby, and he impressed me then. And then he took on Teofimo. I was actually one of the few who gave him a chance to win that fight. He won it, and I was full of praise for the guy. I liked his attitude. I liked his demeanor. I liked his underdog story. But then no sooner as a guy, we've seen this with a few fighters, they win the title and their energy switches, man. Man started acting like a diva. You promised Devin Haney the fight. No sooner as he'd won the belts, you were trying to belittle Devin Haney, call him email champion, fake belt, this, that. The energy was way different. And then, you know, I mean, you went back on a lot of things you'd said before the Teofimo fight. You would he accused, check this out though. He accused, right? And I remember this well. He accused Teofimo of ducking Devin Haney. And he was saying to Devin Haney, don't worry, Devin. When I take the belts off Teofimo, I'll fight you in Australia or wherever it is. Don't worry, mate. We'll unify the belts. There'll be one champion. That's what he said, remember? He wins the title. And no sooner as he wins the title, that energy just dissipated. And it went from showing respect to Devin Haney to disrespecting him, calling him email champ, you're not worthy, and all this stuff, you know what I mean? When clearly Devin Haney wanted to fight. And I just thought that was weak, man. And it kind of put me off him a little bit. Listen, he done great so far. It is an underdog story, how he kind of come from nowhere and, you know what I mean, won all those belts in America, beating a favored champion in his hometown. Great, great. But like a lot of people, man, in boxing, the success has kind of gone to his head a little bit. Now, listen, you often see Kambosos, you know what I mean, posting little videos of him in the gym, and he seems to still have the desire to be a champion. I just don't like some of the stuff he's put out recently. I still respect him as a fighter. I'm glad they've now got the fight made. And that's only been forced upon us because of what's happened to Loma and the situation in Ukraine. So I'm disappointed with him with that, because I didn't think Lomachenko had done enough to deserve that fight. Because if you look at it, Lomachenko was the reason why the belts were broken up in the first place.
I agree with that.
You know what I mean? The reason why Devin Haney, and this is the irony of this situation, the reason why Devin Haney is an email champion is because of Lomachenko not wanting to fight Haney and asking for a franchise belt, which he denied, and it was later proved that he was lying. So that is why Devin Haney...
Answer Daniel White's question here. Big up Daniel White. He said here, how are you ducking Haney by trying to get to Loma?
Simple. It's the same reason that Amir Khan used when he fought Canelo. Remember? When he was supposed to fight... when he was supposed to fight Kell Brook before, and he took the fight with Canelo, that's the same excuse that Amir Khan... How in the hell can you accuse me of ducking Kell Brook when I'm fighting Canelo, one of the best fighters in the world? So I'm sorry, Daniel, that doesn't really add up to me. To me, I think he was ducking Haney because he's probably reasoning. I mean, listen, I'm paraphrasing. Well, I'm not even paraphrasing. This is just my opinion. If you're Kambosos, right, you're probably going to earn a bit more money by fighting Loma because he's a bigger name. I'll give it that. Yeah. And also, if you get beat by Loma, it's going to be looked upon in a slightly different light than if you'd lost your belts to an up-and-coming guy like Devin Haney who's got no power. So, again, I'm not saying he's scared of Devin Haney, but I am saying he tried to swerve him 100%. Because the reason why I say that is because you just look at the body language and the energy of Kambosos before and after he won the title. Before he won the title, yeah, listen, man, when I win the belts from Tio, you're the first one. You deserve it. I've seen the videos. You know what I mean? I've saved some of them. I'll watch them back. You deserve the shot. You got that other belt. Once I win that belt, I'll be the unified, undisputed world champion. Let's do it, mate. Really, let's do it, mate, and all that. As soon as he won the fight, the man was even talking about fighting Ryan Garcia. And that's what really got me. I was like, bro, now you're taking the piss now, man.
But like I said, I agree with everything that you're saying. I fully agree. But obviously playing devil's advocate, was Lou DiBella and George Kambosos, did they have it in their head that they knew that, yeah, we probably will end up fighting Haney? But, you know, F Haney, let's just shop ourselves out and see if we can get the highest bidder and take that to Australia. Like, why do I owe Haney?
If you're Lou DiBella and you got your thinking hat on, you're thinking to yourself, as good a fighter as Kambosos has proven to be, let's be honest, he's not going to be favourite against Loma, is he? Even in Australia. And there's a good chance as well that he could lose to Devin Haney, because Devin Haney, to me, is a superior skilled fighter. Yeah? If Kambosos beats Haney, it's going to be through work rate or something like that. He's not going to outbox Devin. No chance. He's not going to outbox Loma either.
In Australia, will it be hard for Haney to get a decision in Australia?
Yeah, it will. But if you're Lou DiBella and you're thinking in terms of your fighter monetary wise and career wise, you're thinking to yourself, which is the lesser of those options? You either from losing to Loma and losing to Haney, which one is more agreeable to? I'm not, that's the wrong word, agreeable, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Which one is going to have the less effect on your career? And that's going to be the loss to Loma, because Loma is an established world champion, seen by many as one of the all-time greats. if not all-time great, was certainly one of the great fighters in recent years, as opposed to losing to someone like Devin Haney, who is still up and coming, really, isn't he? Even though he's won a title or got the email belt, he's not there yet, whereas Loma is. So what looks worse on your record, a loss to Haney or a loss to Loma? And I honestly think that that's the route they've gone down.
Obes are saying here the fight's not made yet. The fight's not official yet. They're still in negotiations. But I saw that as well, Obes. It flashed up on my phone that Kambosos is looking at a rematch clause in that fight. Not surprising. It's happening everywhere now, isn't it? So
yeah. That is the reason I'm proffering as to why he wasn't so keen to engage Devin Haney.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Haney should have been the fight. We all know that. And when I heard that he was negotiating to fight Ryan Garcia, that's what did it for me. I thought, how can you justify giving Ryan Garcia a shot at your belt when this guy has been pulling out of fights, claiming mental health problems and stuff like that? He does not deserve, whether you got empathy with Ryan Garcia's situation or not. I think Ryan Garcia even himself said he didn't deserve the fight. I'm sure I saw a quote to that effect.
Yeah, so but like Daniel's saying, what Daniel's saying here, he's saying, what would you do if you're a draw? Would you not shop yourself out to the highest bidder?
No, because he'd already given his word.
You wouldn't shop yourself out to after you won the belt.
No, because I'll tell you why. Because he's on the record as promising Devin Haney to fight. I'm a man of my word. If I promise I'm going to fight somebody, then that is the route you got to go down. And let's face it, that route makes a lot of sense because by beating Devin Haney, right? By beating Devin Haney, you then become the undefeated, undisputed champion. You've got all the belts. Nobody can tell you nothing. And if you look at it like that, that gives you even more bargaining power when you're fighting the likes of Loma. You are the man. You've got all the belts then. A bit like what Canelo does. I've got all the belts. You know what I mean? Come see me.
Yeah, what I found a bit disturbing about it was Kambosos, before he defeated Teofimo Lopez, he would say, and I've seen it on record before anybody says it's not true, I've seen it. Like, he would say that, Teofimo Lopez wasn't the undisputed champion. They still had to fight. And then when he got the belt, he's saying, Devin Haney ain't the real champ. I'm like, well, you're just contradicting yourself there.
Very contradictory. And that's why I said, he went from a guy that I had the greatest respect for to a man that I was losing the respect by the day for. Every time I saw one of them cheesy interviews or cheesy little posts on Twitter of him belittling Devin Haney and saying, oh, you're an email champion, I was thinking, bro, before the Teofimo fight, you were saying that this guy's a hot young prospect. I can't wait to fight you. When I get the belts, we'll meet for the unification and the true champion will be established. You've gone from saying that to now you're on some little cheesy dissing shit. I'm like, bro, what's wrong with you? You are falling victim to the same thing that happened to Teofimo, which is that you get the belts and then it just goes to your head.
I'm seeing in the comments here, Mr. Burns, big up Mr. Burns and Obes and everybody else. Burns is saying here that Devin Haney said he didn't want to go to. I thought Devin Haney made it pretty clear quite a few times that he wanted to go
all along. I think the only slight problem with going to Australia was because they've got a government there that was very heavy on the vaccination thing. I think that there was an issue around that.
Yeah, did Bill say it? Because that's what. Yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, there was speculation that there was an issue around the vaccine situation. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But I did hear that. But then later on, both Bill Haney and Devin Haney said, listen, I'm prepared to get the vaccine to go to Australia. And they even went as far as to say, I'll take, when he was being accused of pricing himself out, because that was the other thing they were trying to do, weren't they? They were trying to say that Devin had priced himself out. And Devin Haney immediately came back and said, listen, I will take the same deal that you're offering Loma. I will take it. You know what I mean? And even then, they were Kambosos and his team was still oohing and ahhing. It's only when this war situation kicked off and then Loma basically said to him, listen, man, I'm not going to be in a position to fight come May or June, whenever it is. You're going to have to do your thing. And we'll revisit this later if you still got the belts. That was the only time when they meaningfully entered into conversation to get the deal done with the Haney. So it's very disappointing. And see, this is the thing that ruins boxing, isn't it? When I get my UFC friends say to me, yeah, but in UFC, there's, there's only one champion for each division, whereas boxing, there's 4 or 5 champions. I can't really, this is what makes it so difficult for me to argue back with them.
What I'll say is that we go off at the fighters a lot here. We're both going off at, Mr. Burns here, he's going off at Haney. We've got other people going off at Kambosos. Well, really, we need to go off at the WBC for creating this whole mess in the first place with the whole franchise
but
belt.
Why are people going off on Haney? I mean, I don't get it. The guy said that he wants to fight. Why are you going off on him?
Well, I think the WBC are the main. The WBC just effed this up. Yeah. You know what I mean? With the whole franchise belt, and they should have ordered Haney and Loma. Do you know what I mean? Like, without having to cause all this mess.
Yeah, they created it by giving Lomachenko the out, because it was, by all intent, from what I hear anyway, it would appear that Loma, for whatever reason, was not keen on that Haney fight and wanted to go another direction and requested the franchise belt, which is what I said. The reason why Haney ended up with the email belt.
Yeah. Let's see how it goes.
Just while we're on that, I can't understand people. Honestly, I can't understand the criticism of Haney, because here is a man, he's been calling out all of those guys, right? He's been calling them all out. He can't get the fights. Even when he fought Jojo Diaz, right? Jojo pulled out of the fight and then they got the fight back on again. And he's beating these guys, maybe because he's not knocking them out or whatever, but he's winning those fights. And I can't understand why people are having a go at him. If Devin Haney was just bare talk, think about it. He could easily take that WBC belt that had been handed by the WBC by email and just fight nondescript opponents and call himself champion. Then all these people would still be criticizing him, saying, oh, look at him, he's hiding in plain sight with that belt. He said, no, I want to unify the division. I want to fight Kambosos for all the belts. I wanted to fight T.O. when he had all the belts. They don't want to fight him, and yet you're criticizing the guy that's been ducked. Make that make sense.
Yeah. Hopefully it does happen, man, because if it does, there's quite a few fights to look forward to up until June. If that fight does happen in June.
It's a big fight.
It is a big fight, man, and it makes sense. It absolutely makes sense, this one. And I hope that this one is the one that's made before the Loma one. Do you know what I mean?
Interesting. I saw an interview.
Loma's not interested right now, man. He's got his own situation.
Yeah, he's got his mind on other things, and so has Usyk. And you can't blame them, man. It's a terrible situation what's happening in their country. They must feel very conflicted between what's going on in their country and their, let's face it, their career, the thing that brings them money, fighting, and they can't do it really at the moment.
Well, you say that, but I mean, over the last week, there's been conflicting news over the last few days, whether Usyk will rematch AJ or next or not. Literally, one day I saw, yeah, it's happening. The next day, it wasn't happening. Then I saw Mike Coppinger report that Usyk had permission to leave Ukraine to start training. So I thought, okay. And then literally that day, Usyk's manager, Aegis Klimas, came out and said that it was cap. And then today now, I'm seeing literally while we was on the show, I'm seeing that it actually is going to happen, that Usyk will leave Ukraine to rematch AJ. So I don't know where we are with this.
I don't know where we are. But what I would say is this, right? With Usyk and Lomachenko and any other fighter fighting out of Ukraine right now, how much is your mind really going to be on training and preparing for a fight when you got your loved ones back home in imminent danger like this? Mm. And this is not a situation that's going to go away in a few days. This situation could drag on for a while. You know what I mean? So I have the utmost sympathy for those fighters in that respect, that even if he does agree to the fight, man, it must be very distracting for him. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I would say, man, I don't think you're going to see Loma and Usyk fighting in the next 2 or 3 months, man, because the amount of mental capacity it takes for you to go in a training camp and prepare fights for that magnitude must take a whole lot. So I don't know, man. I don't know. But in the meantime, Kambosos should fight Haney. That's as simple as that. You should have fought. Loma shouldn't even have been in the conversation to me. You know what I mean? That win against what's the guy's name? The Africa Clotty, was it? Coaty.
Yeah. Oh, well, I've forgotten his name as well, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know you're talking about. Yeah, got
That
stopped by
was not
Teofimo.
sufficient to earn himself a world title fight.
Mm.
Not in front of Devin Haney, anyway. You know what I mean? So Haney should be the man that gets the shot, and then obviously Lomo's name will be in the shake-up, the winner of that fight between Kambosos and Haney, which I believe will be Haney.
And Usyk and AJ, yeah, that's it. Obes Comey, Richard Comey.
That's the one. Yeah, Comey.
Thanks, Obes. Yeah, but
apologies to my Ghanaian brothers, I got the name wrong, but yeah, Richard Comey.
The Usyk AJ situation. Just lastly, Eddie Hearn is now confident that the fight will happen now, and I'm just like, is it going to be? Do you know what I mean? What sort of mindset is Usyk in?
I mean, and
every day the story's changing, and now it's he's coming, man, and I'm just like, I don't know how.
The other thing that's concerning me as well is that if, to be fair to Joshua, and let's be fair to Joshua for 1 minute, if he does beat Usyk, right? I know it's a big if, but if he did, you know what people are going to say in it? Yeah, but you only won because Usyk's mind's not there, and so it's not a good look for either fighter, really, is it?
No.
Usyk for the obvious reason, and AJ because if he wins, people are going to say you only beat Usyk because his mind was elsewhere. The fight shouldn't have gone ahead. It was ridiculous. You know what people are going to say. So I've got a little sympathy for both guys, actually. Personally, I don't think Usyk should be fighting soon. Obviously, it's up to him. Only he knows his situation. But it seems to me, man, that there's a lot of distractions, and he should take his time. Hopefully, him and his family and his people are safe, and he should be given time to take care of that situation. And hopefully, when he's good and ready and willing, he can come back and fight for the belt, regardless of who wins the belt in the meantime.
I think it works out better for both of them. I think with AJ, it allows him to get settled with a new trainer who it could be James Ali Bashir, as Obes is saying, and a few others have said today. But then for Usyk as well, like you just said, it gives him time to really prepare himself rather than rushing into this in the middle of a huge conflict like this. So
that's right.
Both of them, it would do them well to not fight each other right now. Do you know what I mean?
Because wherever Usyk is now, I'm pretty sure he's not in the gym every day, is he? Apparently, he's performing security duties. So I don't know. Maybe he's in the gym every day. I don't know. But I would have thought that even if you are in the gym every day training, you're not going to be training to the level you would be normally. And secondly, you're going to be severely distracted because, you know what I mean? War is war, man. This is something that me and you haven't had to go through, obviously, but I would imagine it's a big distractor to your, you know what I mean, professional career.
Yeah. Ian Hammond said here, here's one perspective. If AJ and Usyk rematch, the world is going to root for Usyk because of what's going on.
Exactly.
That's I don't want that rematch right now. That's
another thing. That's a very good point because, you know, if it goes to points and all that, you know what I mean, are the judges going to vote against Usyk?
Obes are saying here, if AJ sparks Usyk, I wouldn't feel great about that. It's a messy one.
Yeah.
So it's
listen, if AJ wins that fight, everybody pretty much is going to say the only reason you won that fight is because Usyk was distracted. He's got his mind is elsewhere. He shouldn't have taken the fight. He should not have gone ahead. People are going to blame the promoters and said you're leeching off Usyk. It was only a money making. The whole thing's unpleasant, bro. It's just not appropriate.
Yeah.
It's not. You know what I mean?
And not at this moment Loma said no. Loma was like, "Nah, I'm not doing it, man."
Yeah.
And that was a world title up for all of the belts except one. So, yeah. I mean, I haven't heard anything from the sanctioning bodies as to, you know, how long they'll be able to grant Usyk this status as still being champion without having to defend. I mean,
I would say it should be indefinite. They should say to Usyk, you take your time.
Yeah.
You take your time. We're not rushing you back. A title shot is there. These are special circumstances.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
When you're good and ready, you let us know and we will accommodate you. You'll be the next one up. The only problem with that, though, is that because he held, 3 or 4 of the belts, is that in the meantime, the belts are going to get splintered, aren't they? Let's be honest. We know what boxing's like. even if they say to Usyk, yeah, we'll wait until you're ready, what I think will happen is that the respective bodies will all issue a direction saying that they're going to be interim belts. So that means that they're going to be split up. WBO, WBA, IBF, they're all going to be split up. We're going to have different people fighting for them.
Yeah.
So
I'd love to see this fight here, Mr. Burns. I don't think it'll happen though. AJ and Wilder. We don't even know if Wilder's going to come back into boxing.
I'm not so sure if Wilder's going to fight again, man. I don't. I'm not seeing anything from him that suggests that he would. And in any event, if you're Wilder coming off the back of those beatings you took from Tyson Fury, those massive fights, do you want your first time fight back to be against a guy like AJ? Of course not. I wouldn't have thought so anyway. That wouldn't really make good sense to me. You've just been knocked out by Tyson Fury, like face first. You haven't been in a gym or you haven't been training, doing any meaningful training. You haven't had a fight. And then your first fight back, you're going in against one of the biggest punchers in the division. To me, that's folly, isn't it? Surely. Yeah. That's the kind of thing that somebody would do if they needed the money. Now, Deontay Wilder doesn't need the money, as he said himself. He's basically got one foot in retirement. The man's in the studio making music. You know what I mean? He's showing no inclination.
He's on some spiritual journey right now as well, isn't he? He's not really.
Yeah, exactly.
Not thinking about boxing right now.
Yeah, his head is elsewhere, and I don't blame him. He's been a great champion. You know what I mean? He holds that record of how many defenses it was and how many knockouts. He's been one of the better fighters in recent times. He's earned a lot of money. Let the man go off and enjoy his money, man. And if he does come back to the ring, fair enough. Personally, if I was advising Deontay, I'd probably say, listen, man, you've won an Olympic bronze medal. You come out the amateurs. You've done great. 40-odd wins. You created havoc, built yourself a monstrous reputation, made loads of money. One of the classic fights in recent years with Tyson Fury. What are you coming back for, really?
Well, one thing, well, before we go, one thing that you say quite regularly, actually, on that point, is that why would a fighter end his career on that note? You said it about Amir Khan. I remember you saying it on. Said it about other fighters that have got suffered a bad loss, and I've said to you that they retire, and you're like, nah, they ain't gonna want to retire on a note like that. So is Wilder? We could say the same thing for Wilder then.
You could do, but you've got to remember, Darryl, with that fight against Fury, that was seen as one of the great fights of recent years. So both fighters came out of that fight with a lot of credit. So even though Wilder lost, he lost with a lot of honor. Even people that didn't particularly like and respect Wilder before that fight was giving Wilder a lot of credit after the fight, saying he showed immense bravery. It was a great fight to watch because a classic fight. It's going to be remembered for years. So to me, if you can't go out on a winning note, that's the next best thing to go out on, isn't it? With your respect in place and everybody talking what a great fight it is. Bit different to when Amir Khan's had some of his fights when he'd just been knocked out like that. So yeah. And like I said, he's made a tremendous amount of money, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Obes is saying here, Wilder, he's saying here, Wilder wanted to be a journeyman to pay his daughter's medical bills. Now he's earned generational money. Horrible boxer, but a great story.
I think you're being a bit harsh with a horrible boxer. He's not the most talented boxer, but he's a great fighter. You know what I mean? And he utilized.
I think we can all agree it's a great story.
Yeah. But I think to put the word horrible boxer in there is to downplay his achievements, man. At the end of the day, he made X amount of title defenses. Was it 10? You know what I mean? And he was closing in on that 50-0, wasn't he? Until he got beaten up.
Yeah, but come on.
But anyway, listen, man, the guy made a huge impression in the sport. Yeah. And he made a lot of money doing it with some great fights. And he, you know what I mean, his reputation was as a fearsome, you know what I mean, destructive puncher. Not everyone can do that, bro. So if he was to retire tomorrow, everyone's going to say you had a great career, aren't they? Let's be honest. Whether you want to say he was a great boxer or not a very good boxer or limited, didn't have many skills, you can't argue with what he's achieved. So you've done a good job, man.
Well, listen, man, we're going to wrap it up here for the week, man. Been an hour and 35 minutes. I know a fantastic show today, man. Some great comments, a lot of debate going in the comments as well, which I like to see. Also, like to see us being challenged on a few things as well, man. Look, I like that. Don't always have to agree with what we say.
No,
So, I think it's great. No, I think it's
one of the great things about boxing, it's a subjective type of sport. You know what I mean? It's very opinion based. A lot of people are going to have different opinions. Sometimes those opinions are skewed for some of the wrong reasons, but nevertheless, that's what makes boxing such a great sport, because lots of people are going to have their own different interpretations of what happens.
Yeah, I think it's great as well. Do you know what I mean? Nice friendly banter with everyone,
Yeah.
man. It's good. That's the type
As long as it doesn't get disrespectful, then I'm good with that. You know what I mean? Because, you know, let's be honest, man. If you watch boxing for a whole host of reasons, not least what goes on between the ring. It's boxing is one of those sports that's very tied up in nationalism and race and, you know what I mean, things like that, because people of a certain race or disposition are gonna like people and there's nothing wrong with that, by the way. You know what I mean? If you're Irish, you're gonna like the Irish fighters. If you're black, you're gonna like a black fighter. If you're African American, you like the African American fighters. If you're African Caribbean, you're gonna like the black British fighters, travelers. You know what I mean? We don't get me wrong, we all like the boxers, but you're kind of gonna have a special passion for people that look like you or sound like you and stuff like that. And to me, there's nothing wrong with that at all, as long as it don't get disrespectful or out of pocket. You know what I mean? So I have no problem. When Dillian fights Tyson Fury, I say, no, I'm going to be rooting for Dillian. Dillian is of Jamaican extraction as well, right? Now, I've got traveler friends who'll be rooting for Tyson Fury. I'm not going to hold that against them. It is what it is. As I said, as long as we keep it respectful, it's all good, bro. May the best man win.
For sure. Great show, man. Everyone's saying it. Great show this week. Look out for next week. We'll be back again. More videos to come in the meantime from myself. We'll probably do a live in between speaking about this weekend. Actually, no, I will do a live. I haven't done one on my own for a while. So get you back on that as well, Laurie. Have a little fan talk. Get some of the guys on here. And until then, guys, enjoy the rest of your week. Catch you all over the weekend. And stay safe, man, and enjoy. Look forward to catching up with you all soon, man.